Hello, everyone. This is Dan Gannon. I am the current recruitment chair here at New Leaders Council, New Hampshire, and it is so exciting to have our panelists and our new recruitment chair, Kat Gatcomb, and co-directors Sierra and Lucy on the call today. This is Kat's first walkthrough of our NLC event for recruitment, and she's going to be taken on over as I step away. So I'll let Kat take it away and just kind of chime in as needed. But I'm really excited to welcome her to the board as I step down. I know she's just going to do an incredible job. And as a friend, I'm very excited to see her taking on and leading this work. So Kat, why don't you, I'll go on mute and I'll chime in if we need to, but why don't you take it away and you can introduce our panelists and get started with your questions.
Great, thanks, Dan. Hi, I'm Kat Gatcomb. I'm the incoming recruitment chair. I'm very excited. I was a 2021 fellow, so I just completed Institute, and I'm excited to be joining the board. So we have two panelists here today, and we're going to ask them a few questions, and then at the end, we'll just do a quick overview of the NLC recruit process, application, institute, all of that. So I will hand it over to our panelists if you would like to introduce yourselves.
Thanks, Zach. I'll take that as a cue, but my name is Manny Espitia. I use the pronouns he, his, him. I wear many hats, but whether it's being a state representative out of Ward 4 in Nashua, I also am the president of the New Hampshire Young Democrats, and I full-time run for something as the Northern Regional Director. I love all the work I do, and I'm also a 2017 alum with Zach, but also served on the board as the recruitment chair between 2018 and 2020. So very excited and thankful to be here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Zach. Use he, him pronouns as well. As May said, I was in the 2017 class. I know we'll get into more about kind of how we heard about NLC and our experience. I am transitioning jobs right now. I was a legislative assistant in the House Democratic office, actually serving as one of the staffers for Manny and the rest of leadership and the rest of the caucus. Did that for about 2.5 years, and I'm about to start a new role as the Outreach and Engagement Manager for the New Hampshire School Funding Fairness Project. And yeah, that's so right now I'm looking forward. Oh, and also my NLC service. I after doing the board, I was curriculum chair for 1 year on the board after graduating the institute, and then chapter director for 2 years. And then my last year as a chapter director, I also served as an at-large member on the National Programs Committee, which is the National Level Volunteer Board, kind of serving as a liaison to help the national team kind of get feedback from current chapter directors about how different programs are running, which was a pretty cool experience to kind of see the national inner workings of the program.
Awesome, thank you both. So to kick things off, I was just, I was wondering, first of all, how did you hear about NLC? And then what led you to apply for NLC?
So I heard about it. I think, funny enough, somebody had posted it maybe on a Facebook page, and another alum, Amelia Keene, who I think is 16, she was the executive director of the New Hampshire Young Dems, but she hit me up, or I asked her, I was like, hey, what is this? And she's like, you should do it, like you'd be perfect for it. So I applied and ended up getting in, but it was just happenstance, just walked into it, but I'm thankful every day that that Amelia said, like, that she recommended the program for me. So that's how I found it.
Yeah, I grew up in Concord, New Hampshire, and left for college and was out of state for a few years after that, and was recently back in New Hampshire the summer of 2016, and just started working for a group called the Campaign for a Family-Friendly Economy, which was kind of my first foray into New Hampshire politics and activism in New Hampshire. And I met someone named Zach Jonas who had done NLC also, and he recommended it to me. And Manny and I actually, our first year, 2017 was the first year that New Hampshire did the full institute. So it was like the first, before that had been like a 2-month program, and I think like a 3-month program. And so it was definitely the board was really trying to get a bunch of new people to come in and try out the Institute as a full-fledged program for the first time. And Zach was very, he just bugged me a lot to apply, and I really am thankful, he answered all my questions and stuff. So I didn't really know what I was walking into, but I knew I wanted to meet some young people, because most of the people that I grew up with were gone. And a lot of young people, I didn't know anyone anymore. So it was a good way to try to find a new network of like-minded people in the state. So.
Great, thank you for sharing. So for folks listening in, maybe from home, or the setup of New Leaders Council is it's a 6-month institute. We have 5 months of trainings, and then the last month is a graduation sort of celebration. So those 5 months, the first one kicks off with a lead weekend, which is all about goal setting and sort of like figuring out your values. Then we have communications, fundraising, best practices in management, and community organizing. So I was wondering, Manny and Zach, which was your favorite one of those weekends, and why?
I can start with this one. So I think my favorite one was the first weekend, lead weekend. Partially, I don't know if it was my favorite while I was doing it, just because it was really challenging. But in hindsight, that was like one of the most rewarding experiences, and has definitely shaped, just because it is such like it is an intensive weekend aimed at building a cohesive group as quickly as possible, to kind of like get past all of the awkwardness of being a new group, kind of like really dive down and get to know people on a level that you didn't know you could in just one weekend, which then opens up the opportunity, the possibilities for the rest of the institute. And kind of like using that as an anchor, that was like really rewarding, because I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my classmates, my cohort. But then also, I think it helped set the bar super high in my own mind, like personally, professionally, of like what a well-structured, well-organized meeting and well-facilitated like day can look like. And so that was something that I've used in the years since as like a kind of a standard of like a lot of planning and structure and training can really make a group of people come together really quickly.
I think for me, my favorite and probably one of the most useful ones I did was the fundraising weekend, because I've been working in politics for a few years. I think I started in 2012, so when I did it, it was 2017. I've been working for 5 years. Most of my experience was in field, in organizing and really talking, doing some more like in person to person, like connecting. And so learning about fundraising, learning about like the 5 concentric circles of giving and stuff like that, that is like, and like fundraising on all different kinds of levels, whether it's issue advocacy versus electoral, and learning how to actually leverage personal relationships. Like those skills were super handy. And I use them literally like every day, like that I do fundraising in my life now. So it's, I would say that one was probably like one of the most useful ones I've ever, useful trainings I've ever done.
Thanks. And Manny, you sort of just answered my next question as well, which is great, which was if you could tell us a little bit about some skills that you gained from NLC and how you use those skills in your professional and personal life. So if you have other ones you want to share, Zach, if you wanted to chime in, that would be great.
So like communication skills, I like that one was also very handy. So I also, like I said, I've never like written a press release. So like like learning how to write a press release. Also just learning about messaging and like actual like a comms plan messaging versus just an overview. So like I say, a lot of the time I recommend NLC to folks because a lot of folks, are very talented, have some, are just needing some kind of, some skills and learn how to actually use them. So I would say like NLC will teach you hard skills that you will carry with you for, the rest of your career. And I would say like that is so true for me that I use these skills like all combined on a day-to-day basis. So incredibly handy. And even if, I work in the electoral space in politics, but even if I didn't, I know that, I have friends who did NLC with me who don't work in this space and who use a lot of these skills as well. So I would say that comm skills.
Yeah, I'll second what Manny said about fundraising. I mean, I think that as a hard skill set, that was something I'd never done before. It's a lot of people have not done fundraising, and I really appreciated how NLC, the framing of it is open enough that it's like raising money for the cool stuff that you want to do, whether it's like starting a business, whether it's like looking for grants, whether it's running for office and like, policy or politics. And I think that, or just some side gig you want to do, like raising $1,000 for a cool neighborhood block party to bring together some people for, for community. Like just kind of those skills are so transferable, and I appreciate the kind of like breadth of options that is the foundation of that training. It's not just like super narrow, because I found that helpful kind of in political ways, but also in totally unrelated ways. And I can touch on our capstone later, which I've used those fundraising skills for too. And so, yeah, I found that to be the most helpful kind of like hard skill and something I'd never learned anywhere else.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with the fundraising. That was something I felt really nervous about, and I'm thankful for that training. And I think you also both touched on something really important too, which is I think folks are coming from all different backgrounds and careers, and it's really interesting to see how we all took the skills and used them in our prospective spaces outside of NLC, because it really does apply to a lot of different spaces, which is great. So yeah, so one thing that I really loved about my time as a fellow was putting together my capstone project, which is still in the works. But the project it can be a lot of things, but it's sort of like a passion project. And I would love to hear about your capstones, Manny and Zach.
Yeah, I can kick this one off. So my capstone was a project that I started, really started in earnest actually in January of my NLC Institute year, kind of like unrelated to the capstone, and then the capstone kind of helped shape it. But I played ultimate frisbee in college, and it was like a really great like community for me. And then the few places I lived around the country after that, I found ultimate frisbee people, and that was kind of a good way for me to connect with people in a new place. And when I came back to New Hampshire, there wasn't a team here. And so I talked, and I played a bunch of pickup here. There's a bunch of teams in Boston and Portland and Burlington. And so I started organizing a team and was probably gonna do it, but like I was still kind of feeling it out. And adult co-ed sports are kind of like an interesting space. And but my NLC lead groups like really, really encouraged me to go for it and to like take it seriously. And they're very supportive and like, didn't kind of like make fun of it. I don't know. It's like it was like a thing that I think it was like a fragile idea, and they really kind of like helped run with it. And so I ended up starting this team, and had a huge amount of interest, and traveled all over New England to tournaments and stuff, and had a really good first year. And then the following years have had huge turnout, and I was able to kind of like hand off the leadership of that team to some other people, and they're now running it full fledged. And we didn't do it last year because of COVID, but we are doing it this year. We had like 130 people sign up to try out, and so we have a huge team, and it's just like been a really cool source of friends and community. And we had a feedback forum last year, and a lot of people said that they came to try out for this team because of like the inclusive and fun culture that they'd heard about as they played against us in past tournaments, which was like something that NLC I think really helped drive into. That was just like, how can you bring in inclusive language and attitudes and facilitation, even into a sports program, right? Like, I don't know if that's what NLC was made for, but like those skills, like that helped me kind of like want to do that, and to see that even continued years down the line when I'm not even running it anymore, has been a really, really fulfilling thing.
So Zach's, I will also co-sign and say Zach's was really great, because I just thought it was just so regional and so like I think taking on a passion that really brings together communities. So it's legit. Mine was actually building a small Latino small business coalition over in Nashua. Um, and I did a lot of like just talking to small businesses, Latino small businesses in my, where it's funny now because I literally live in the neighborhood where a lot of these businesses are now. We just bought a house over there, but it was, building those relationships and getting to know a lot of the business people. These people who came to this, some of them came to this country for a better future, and like they started a small business here, whether it's like selling calling cards, selling barber shops, whether it's restaurants and things like that, and just like getting them connected. So while mine wasn't one that was stayed permanent, I think I built a lot of these relationships and actually ended up helping me out when I ran for office and getting having met all these folks and like actually getting to know them. And so that was a really useful skill, and really awesome capstone that I felt like was very personal to me and one that I actually really cared about. So and I will say like that's partially why the capstone's so good, is because you get to do one that's like kind of like centered to who you are. So
Those both sound amazing. Thank you for sharing. That's really cool. So finally, I was just wondering, what's life like after New Leaders Council? How is it being an alum? Do you still hang out with people? Like, do you, you've talked about how you use those skills, which is great. But yeah, I wonder if you could just talk about that a little bit.
So I wish we get to hang out more. Like we did hang out a lot more after 2017, like 2018, hung out with Zach quite a few times, and Becca as well, but also I and like a lot of our other members. But, we're on the board. So, giving back service and actually like, so I actually attended quite a few, weekends myself, because I was on the board and got to meet a lot of great like other fellows who are also out there. But I think there's two things. One, I don't think I would have stayed in New Hampshire if it wasn't for NLC, and two, I don't think I probably would have run for office if it wasn't for NLC. So I do owe a lot of gratitude for the skills and the network that I built because of NLC. Yeah, I like, life after NLC was great, and I'm grateful every day that I did. I was part of that 2017 class, and that we've, NLC is where it is now. So.
Yeah, I think for people considering applying, it's hard sometimes to talk about a program. NLC is one of, there are a lot of other leadership programs and similar kind of like training opportunities on paper. I think all of us are a little biased towards this one in particular, but I think that it's hard to kind of, I don't think it's hard to exaggerate the like depth of the network of people. Like having gone through the institute, like it takes it's a lot of time and energy, but like you get out what you put in, and I think there's like a level of understanding of the other alumni. Like I went through the class with Manny. I was on the board when Dan and Sierra went through, but like I just met Kat on this call, and like wasn't formally involved in NLC when you went through the program, but like just knowing that you did it and like that you got through the selections process and like you put in the time and energy required to graduate, like that, I just like am more willing to like want to reach out to you, or like if I knew what field you worked in, and for my work like I need someone that feel like it creates a network like of the, I just like I really do trust that people have graduated from that have like are like good people and like care about what they're doing, whatever it is, and like are kind of here to make New Hampshire just a better and more inclusive space. And so like that to me has just continued to just be a positive reinforcing loop, just like for professionally, like if it's I mean, Sierra was like a reference on my job application, for a new job I just got, and like other people, another friend like helped send me the job, so it's like that kind of thing. And then personally just like meeting friends and then kind of like staying connected with them after, I think is just it really is a network that there are some people I don't talk to, and then 2 years later I see them and have a great time getting dinner with them or something. Or, but it is definitely, I think, a network that there's a pretty serious level of understanding that since we've all gone through this program, like you just kind of like get a sense of like what type of the general genre of the type of person is. And then, but then from there, there's like so many different interests and backgrounds and passions. So yeah, I think just like an understanding of like how cool the network is and how much people care about the state and kind of like making a better place is a really, really unique and amazing thing.
Thank you so much both for sharing all of that. I'm gonna just give you a second if you're like, oh, I wish Kat had asked me this, if you had something you wanted to add, or Dan, if you had anything, any questions I forgot that you're like, you gotta ask them, feel free.
You're doing,
If not, that's fine.
I'll defer to the squad. You're doing great.
Okay.
I think I would just say that if you're considering applying, to go back to kind of the first question about how I heard about NLC, where it's like someone also named Zach told me about it, but then like kept kind of like saying like, hey, you should apply, but then also kept answering my questions. So like if you do know someone who's done it, like ask them a bunch about it, right? And if you don't know someone who's done it, like we are some of the people, like, Dan and Kat and Sierra are currently on the board, but like, there are a lot of alumni that if we're in your professional field, or if we're, if they, they'll connect you with people that they think, might be able to answer your specific questions, whether it's what's it like being not from New Hampshire, what's it like being from New Hampshire, what's it like being a person of color in this program, what's it like, et cetera, et cetera. Like there are alumni that could kind of like help tell you what their experience is. And I think people will be really honest. And so like, if you have any questions, if you're considering it, I would definitely encourage reaching out, because, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of energy, but you know, the people I've talked, just there are people here who will answer all your questions. So reach out.
Yeah, definitely. I'm always open to talking about NLC, like, and always open to making sure that folks know why this is one of the best programs in New Hampshire and in the country. But going back, like, I talked about the skills, but I will say the network is one of the best, I think, in the state of New Hampshire. We have some folks who are doing amazing stuff all over the state and in different fields. So while and like some of these people are like my close friends. And so like thinking about that, like I stayed in New Hampshire because, like I said, because of NLC, and some of that's because of the relationships and friendships I made there. So I am like definitely take it from me that it's a very holistic program that covers so much. So if you're looking for that and you're looking to just to get to know more, like, and here's the other thing, I knew Nashville like the back of my hand, and I still know Nashville like the back of my hand, but like this experience also gave me a chance to branch out of the Gate City. So like if you want to get to know the rest of the state better, like another reason you should do it. So definitely apply for the deadline September 3rd, and take some time before then, because the application does take a little bit of time, just to make sure that you can answer the questions to the best of your ability. It's a competitive program, but we want to make sure that y'all get some good people. And like I said, my class had some amazing people. So and so definitely check out New Leaders Council.
Kat, I'll chime in really briefly. As another alumni, and Zach and Manny have both touched on this really well, but just regarding the alumni network piece, which you'll probably share a little bit about in a moment, I think one of the things that's so excellent about the NLC network, and Sierra mentioned in the chat just now that there's over 100 folks in our chapter, and while we have both a national and a statewide network as an alumni, the thing that I appreciate most about it, in addition to making other progressive friends, is the fact that, as an educator, I can't be an expert on everything. And I can only know about my little field in an in-depth way. But with the other 100 alumni who are in New Hampshire, and with the national network at my disposal, I can really easily find expertise when I'm trying to navigate specific policy or legislative issues. And I can easily find expertise around community organizing and activism, about the things I care about, but don't necessarily have the ability to become a professional or an expert in. And that has been hugely helpful at building my own knowledge as a progressive professional here in New Hampshire. I know, like they both said, I know that I can reach out to anyone and to our, alumni networks at any given time. And I'm very likely to receive really high quality guidance on any kind of topic that I could be interested in. And that's only getting stronger every year. It's been a really awesome experience to kind of be a part of that, in addition to making some really excellent friends throughout the process too.
Great. Thank you, Manny and Zach, so much for being here and for answering our questions. Dan and Sierra, of course, thank you for being here too. I am going to now speak to all the folks who are hopefully listening from the comfort of their homes, really quickly about sort of the timeline and the commitment and sort of the basics of NLC. And I will invite anyone to interrupt me at any time if I forget something, or hopefully don't, but if I misspeak. So yeah, applications are open right now. So if this all sounds great, go ahead and apply. Dan put the link right in that email, in the email he sent out earlier today. So you can find it there. If you can't find it, shoot us an email. We'll make sure you have that. As Manny said, September 3rd, that's when applications are due. And they do take a little bit, of time, and you want to be thoughtful. So go ahead and get that started now if you can. There is a $30 application fee. If that is a barrier for you, just reach out. We do not want that to persuade anyone from not applying. So please do feel free to reach out if that's a problem. And then after applications close, the selections chair and our board, they meet, review all the applications, and then they'll select folks to interview. And those will happen in mid-September, early October. And then the selections process happens, and prospective fellows are notified in October if they have been offered a spot. And then you can accept, hooray, we hope. And then I just want to also say there is a $200 seat deposit. So the amazing thing about NLC is that it is free to participate in, but we do just ask for that refundable deposit. So after the program is over, you can request that back. You also have the option of donating it back to the organization. Correct me if this number is wrong, but I believe it costs about $2,000 roughly to train a fellow, and that's a training you're getting for free, which is pretty amazing. It makes it open to all sorts of folks, and that's really important. So just want to flag that. And then the actual institute would start in January. And as I mentioned earlier, there's 5 months of the training, and then a graduation celebration, alumni sort of event in June. So there's the lead weekend, that first weekend that Zach talked about. There's a communications weekend, fundraising weekend, management, and community organizing. And it's 1 weekend per month. Typically the days are about 9 in the morning till 5 at night-ish. Not exact times, but it's typically 8 hours each day. And then there's a couple other things that are part of your institute experience. So Manny talked a bit, and Zach as well, about the fundraising aspect. So we have a pay it forward model. So I just graduated in 2021. So the fundraising my class did is helping to pay for the class that y'all will be applying for. So one of the skills that you're going to learn is fundraising, and a great way to do that is by actually doing a thing. So we have call times where you'll all get together. We did ours on Zoom. We were a fully virtual class, so we all got on Zoom and we're making our calls and typing in the chat like, I just got a donation, and it was exciting and fun. We had music going. So I think we did about 3 of those call times over the course of a couple months. There were lots of different times that worked in everyone's schedules. And then also you're going to have what we call a lead group, which is a group of about 3 or 4 folks that you'll meet with to really help you work on your capstone together. My lead group met, I think, 3 times for about an hour, and I think that was pretty typical. So that is another commitment outside of the weekends there. And then as we talked about the capstone projects, that's another really exciting thing that you'll all get to work on if you are a fellow. It's something that you're passionate about. It can be a wide range of things. It could be a one-time sort of event that you're planning. It could be like a 5-year plan to set up a nonprofit, which some folks have done. It could be going to grad school. So it's really like the sky's sort of the limit, as long as it's something that you're personally passionate about and that promotes progressive values. And then one last thing that we didn't really touch on in this call, which might have been my bad, I should have added a question about this, was the mentorship piece of New Leaders Council, which is also just really amazing. I just met my mentor for the first time, and he's awesome. I'm really excited to be working together. So the board pairs all the fellows with a mentor, someone whose either personal or professional, maybe both, goals align with yours, and they really help you to meet all of your goals. And that relationship can be, a long time friendship. We have, I think, some past fellows who are still in regular contact with their mentors, or maybe you just really need help completing your capstone, or you need help applying for a new job or something more specific and finite. So it can be sort of a number of things. And then as everyone talked about, the networking and the alumni community is really another great benefit of NLC. So you'll be connected with everyone after those 6 months. It doesn't end. You'll still have this community all around you. So I definitely just talked very fast. I apologize. Hopefully the transcript kept up with me. Did I forget anything, Ciaran or Dan or Manny or Zach, that would be worth noting for folks listening in?
I do just want to say, I forgot about the mentorship as well. And I had a great mentor who I still keep in regular touch with every so often. Probably we check in. And he's been great and somebody who I really admire. So I, even though sometimes I didn't follow all his advice, he's a great guy. So that's another highlight. And I know of alumni who've also, their mentors have helped them in various ways. So it's a great asset that NLC also provides. So.
My only other note, Kat, because folks have been asking a lot lately, is whether or not we will be remote for the 2022 cohort. As Kat mentioned, we were fully remote in 2021, and we pivoted to being remote in the middle of our fellowship in 2020 to make sure that everyone was safe because of COVID. And we're continuing to be very cognizant of everyone's safety moving forward. So nationally, we haven't received guidance whether or not we will be fully in person, remote, or some kind of hybrid of the two. But if you apply and are accepted, we should have that information later this fall. So don't let that decision hinder you, because the opportunity to be remote has actually given some excellent advantages for folks. There's now opportunities to meet with our national sponsors, to meet with chapters from around the country, to have dialogue about progressive issues that affect everyone nationally and explore similarities and differences that have been really, really powerful. And so if there is a continuation of our remote work, I think that will be highly effective. And if it is back in person, that's excellent. But we are not quite sure yet what that will look like. So I wouldn't have that hinder you from applying, because regardless of the situation, it's going to be really engaging. And our curriculum chairs work to make sure that it is just an incredibly positive and effective experience for everyone. I think that's my only note, Kat. That was a great job.
Thank you. I took notes every time you did it in previous.
Zach, before we stop recording, did you have any final notes?
No, I think I've had a good chance to say everything. And yeah, this has been a great opportunity.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for being here. You know, quieter day for us, but we're still really, really excited and appreciative because this will go out to about 120 to 130 folks in the next couple of days. And I'm sure that both of your guidance and advice will be listened to by a lot of folks moving forward. And I just can't say thank you enough. And I know Kat and Sierra feel the same way. So I'll stop recording.